Your choice, and let me know if you can see me and hear me. I do think we are broadcasting. I want to officially and warmly welcome you to SEM Mondays Live, my weekly show here on YouTube. Part Q&A, part group energy healing session, and total awesomeness from start to finish. At least that's the way it is for me. I certainly hope it is for you too. That's my intention, at least. I love that we have the opportunity to be able to connect on such a consistent basis, right? Whether you are exploring our online workshops or you're totally new to Source Energy Medicine, this is absolutely the place to be every Monday to get the answers to your questions, the A's to your Q's, and to be able to connect virtually. And I think probably the most important part of this whole thing is the energy healing session, because we still live in levels of stress that humans were not designed to experience. Before COVID, the only folks that experienced that type of prolonged high levels of stress were our war heroes, police and firefighters, the amazing people that work in level 1 trauma centers and things like that. And what the long-term effect of all of that stress is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But, I love that within the energy healing component of Source Energy Medicine, which is known as the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine, while I can't do everything in a group setting that I do when I work one-on-one with a client or in special groups where I know each person who is participating, I can focus on the things that are most essential to your physical health and well-being, and a lot of that has to do with transforming the stress so it doesn't accumulate. Our body has a way of holding on to the residue, because stress, releases very strong neurohormones. I mean, everyone knows, I think most folks know, not everyone, most folks know the devastating effect that stress has on the immune system, but it just goes so far beyond that. What's going to happen, we'll see. I got to tell you, before COVID, I was so grateful for Source Energy Medicine, and hard to believe what my life was like before Source Energy Medicine and after. And it's crazy to think about gratitude expanding, really magnifying so much more. And it was truly an honor and a joy to create the Emergency Preparedness Masterclass, to be able to support everyone so that this pandemic isn't going away. If anything, it's becoming far, far, far more complicated. Seems like a large percentage of the people around the world were just waiting for the vaccine. The vaccine was going to be the answer. And I've been saying for a year and a half, the vaccine was not going to be an answer, especially not long-term. Short-term helped to open up the economy again. But long-term, that will be left to be seen. But, what you can do to help to ensure your own health and well-being, and of course your family and friends and community who are open to it, what's inside that master class, to me, is priceless, right? It gives me a great sense of calm in the midst of intense turmoil. It gives me a great sense of peace, knowing, I to a large degree am responsible for my reality, but then there's others too that contribute to my reality, and yet it's all me. It's ultimately all me, and your reality is ultimately all you. And yet there are things that I often refer to a Rudolf Steiner quote that I think is from the late 1800s, where he was talking about how difficult it was becoming to be a human. And I think about how much worse it is now than it was then. And he wasn't being an alarmist or being melodramatic. It was he had a gift of knowing what the negative effects would be of things like EMFs. And, he was able to, because of his gift, he was able to see the problems that we were going to have in the future, not just what was currently being experienced. But, kind of crazy to think about the world we live in, and yet I know that there are ways that we can rise above it all, if you will, and be in the world but not of the world. Be able to interact and socialize and play to whatever degree makes sense, right? And to take whatever safety measures are logical and make sense, right? And also being, I think, respectful to others at the same time is really, really, really important. But so, I mention all of that because we have new folks join our community all the time. And the master class, we're leaving registration open. It's set up in a way that you can start anytime that you want. You go at your own pace. And you have access to amazing handouts that really show step by step what to do to help to ensure your health and well-being, as well as what to do should signs or symptoms of really anything. It's not just COVID masterclass. It's for anything that would be characterized as an acute condition, right? Which are like vomiting, diarrhea, some types of headaches, some types of migraines, so many things, right? Even a lot of aches and pains and traumatic injury, stuff like that. So if you have not seen it, there's a link in the show notes to this live stream and the replay, and I did a walkthrough of that masterclass so you could see exactly what's inside it before you go ahead and register for it. So the other announcement that I have is I have been talking these last couple of weeks about this brand new non-material source energy medicine sessions club. And I believe we have, I didn't have a chance to connect with Milo before going live here, but I believe we have one spot remaining. And there is also a link in the show notes if you are not familiar with what that's going to be. And that's the type of group energy healing session where I can focus individually because I know everyone who is in the group. And we will have a couple of different ways where you can share your specific goals and challenges and be able to work with them, work on them once a month, every month. And the replays, everything's going to be recorded and edited and archived so that you can revisit the replays as often as you like, once, twice, 3 times a day, or what some folks are doing in our other communities where they have access to that type of a session. So I hope that makes sense. And if you are here with me live, if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the chat. Thank you for all of the kind words. Awesome to have you here with us, Sadavjeet. What a joy. Very, very, very cool. And Deb, welcome. Marty, Donald, Barbara Ann, and Nab Aid, I believe it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And others, if you're watching this in replay and you have a question, you can leave questions in the comment. But also, just keep in mind, right, we're often talking about health and dis-ease and challenges and difficulty and really any aspect of life. So, YouTube is a private forum. It's not like our online workshops where it's private and we know everyone who is in there and everyone really works and plays very, very, very well together in terms of being respectful and honoring everyone's healing journey. What you type into the chat here or the comments that you leave is public. So just use a little discretion with what you choose to share. And here too, I love that our community on YouTube is very, very respectful, very kind, very loving, very supportive of each other and of me and Milo also, which I so appreciate. I did an interview last week with a man who I have had. It's been really so fun becoming friends with this guy. I met him just a little more than a year ago, and he's a phenomenally talented, gifted young man, and he is an award-winning songwriter, composer. He's an amazing sax player, and he's primarily known in he has quite a following. He has quite a fan base. He has a really, he's been playing music most of his life, and while he's primarily known, or he's most well known, I should say, within the jazz and R&B communities. And about 2 years ago, he started feeling drawn to use his musical. He really has this unique genius that is, it's hard for me to not see the divine in him, even just when we're talking. He's just like a really beautiful, pure soul. And he wanted to take his musical gifts, what I see as his unique genius, and help people beyond just the enjoyment of music, which when he just plays his R&B and jazz is just absolutely stunningly beautiful. But he started doing a lot of research, knowing that music can be healing, right? There's sound therapy, they're certified sound therapists, and he did a lot of research into what he now characterizes as restorative relaxation music. There's a lot of science to it, and he's really, really, really good at it. So later today, I believe it is later today, that interview is slated to be released on our YouTube channel. So emails will go out if you click on that very, very, very cool bell icon while you're here with me live or watching this in replay, and YouTube will let you know when that video is released, and any video that I upload to our videos, as well as when I am live. And certainly subscribing to our YouTube channel is one of the best ways to enable me to be able to support you on your journey with Source Energy Medicine and support you on your self-healing journey. So make sure you check that out. His name's Carl Bartlett Jr., and just a joy, an amazing, amazing, amazing young man. And I love the way the universe and I play together. And, when I met him, it was just like, there's part of my mind that says it's such a bizarre encounter. And we started talking about stuff that not much to do with healing, not much to do with music, and yet we had a lot of these common ground areas. I lived in New York City for 20 years. He's born and still lives there. And, it was just like such divine orchestration. And very early on, I learned about his restorative relaxation music, and I thought I have to share that with our community, because just like watching the replay from SEM Mondays, once or twice or three times a day, listening to these tracks that Carl, so I don't know all of that much about the way music in the studio is put together, but he plays it all, and it's sax, overlaid tracks of sax. He'll play different pieces and then assembles it all together, and he plays rain stick. But there are, multi-layers of him playing, and the harmonies, the way it all comes together is like, I can't describe it verbally. You really have to experience it. And it is a visceral, positively uplifting, and yet deeply relaxing experience. So make sure you check it out. And, I interviewed him a year ago when he released his first restorative relaxation piece. It's called Serene New You Sax. And he has a special, so he released it last year on National Relaxation Day, which I thought I didn't even know there was such a thing, but like every day should be National Relaxation Day. And he's doing a special launch this year. So make sure you check out both of the interviews if you haven't seen it. The first one, I believe the title is "Are You Interested in Serenity?" Primarily because the name of his new project is Serene New You Sax. So so that's on our YouTube channel, and the new one will be released. I believe it's slated to release later today. So I don't see any questions in the chat. just some awesome emojis and some very kind words. I'd like to segue into doing the group energy healing session. If you're totally new to source energy medicine, which means you're totally new to the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, that's what we call the energy healing component or methodology within source energy medicine. There's a video on our YouTube channel. When we're done here, you can simply type into the search bar non-material source energy medicine, and it'll come up. If you have any trouble finding it, just let me know. Leave a comment or send us an email, and Milo will most likely be the one to point you in the right direction. There's a lot to it. The most important things for you to know is it's phenomenally fast, right? Because we are working in the non-physical realm, right? The field, if you will. It's what a lot of scientists are calling it. It's why Lynn McTaggart titled her New York Times bestselling book, The Field. It's the field of pure potentiality. It's the 0 point field. And that's where we're working. And part of the reason why it's called the non-material aspect is because when we're doing that work, it's just energy, right? On one hand, there's no charging labels, no bottles, no water, but there's also no physical form, right? Everything in our physical world is essentially energy. And when we do this work, we are dwelling, we are literally basking in that energy. I've yet to have anyone experience anything that is unsettling or dramatic or cathartic or painful even. However, some highly sensitive people do feel energy moving, right? Energy shifting as we're transforming, balancing, and restoring things. And on your end, a minimum of distractions is certainly seems to help to increase the effectiveness of this because you're in a greater state of allowance, right? Less resistance. Distractions would create resistance, which is kind of funny. Most folks come here to help themselves, right? To help themselves, to heal themselves, and to do something like multitasking or doing stuff like that just really, I think in part it's one way that the subconscious mind sabotages our efforts, right? It's one of the ways that the subconscious mind talks us out of healing. So, if you're in a place where it's safe and comfortable and you feel comfortable and it's appropriate, a lot of folks like to lie down and close their eyes. But if you don't feel safe or you're in a place where that's not appropriate, please don't. A lot of folks are with me live and, they're on their lunch break or they're at work and, they're listening or watching over the shoulder and or at a corner of their eye. And, and I get that, right? And yet I love that. And, when they get home, they'll carve out 15, 20 minutes and just be in this energy healing part of SEM Mondays and just allow themselves to get nice and comfortable, get as receptive as possible, and just experience that session fully, right? Really honoring your healing process. So I turn my camera off. There'll be chanting in the background. The chanting is just so that we're still broadcasting. It has nothing to do with the work. And because of the way YouTube is set up and the way we live stream and it takes so many different pieces of software to be able to do this. Sometimes the chanting works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's all on YouTube's end, like everything on my end is working, at least was working, at the beginning of this broadcast. So, and then when we're done, I'll check the chat one last time before I come back on, and I'll invite you to take a nice deep breath. And I check the chat to see if there's any questions, and then we'll wrap things up for today. And God willing, I will see you back here next Monday for another installment of SEM Mondays Live and another opportunity to be able to continue to support you on your self-healing journey, and not just with source energy medicine, right? But I see like life and healing journey is that it's the same, right? And a lot of people are trying to compartmentalize. Well, here's my spiritual journey, and here's my healing journey, and here's my financial journey. It's all the same journey, and it's all the same healing, right? Because dysfunction in any aspect of your life, any aspect of my life, has the same root causes. And I talk about that extensively in my book, Heal Thyself, and I go even deeper into that, exactly what the root causes are in our online workshops. So On your end, I like the notion of choosing just one thing that you would like to focus on in terms of a goal or a challenge, and just hold that intention. Right, I'm not going to know what it is, and in this type of scenario, it would be impossible to be able to focus on that, and yet you are always healing yourself, and especially in a scenario like this, right, where it might look like I'm in the role of facilitator. You're always healing yourself, and it's that divine part of you. It's that part of you that is certainly your soul is part of that. Your higher self is part of that. Divine infinite intelligence is part of that, and like those are the important aspects to know what you'd like to receive, what your intentions are. And the rest of it is just surrendering, right? It's trusting, believing that it's possible, and surrendering. And the believing that it's possible is often the hardest part for a lot of people to really grasp. I know I look back at my life before Source Energy Medicine, and sometimes the more you know, the harder it is to heal from the challenges, because it's almost like I knew too much, and what I knew, there was no hope, right? They were progressive, no real treatment options. I couldn't find case studies of people who had healed themselves from some of the things, and I was very fortunate to have enough experience where I knew people had completely healed themselves of things like way worse than any of this, in terms of, there is no way worse in reality, right? Course in Miracles teaches us there's no order of difficulty in anything. Certainly there's no order of difficulty when it comes to healing. And the reason why is because it's that divine part of you. And to that divine part of you, there's nothing that's hard, right? There's nothing that's difficult or more difficult. It's all the same. It's all energy. It's just showing up in ways that are not supporting you, right? Human created and not divine. And part of the intention with Source Energy Medicine is just to get everything back on track, just to get everything in alignment with your divinity, with your soul, with your higher self, your higher consciousness. And from that place, then your body can be self-balancing, self-healing, self-correcting. What appears to be aging seems to slow and stop, and often, in many cases, reverse. And we're able to experience this world in a very, 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 very different way. So I invite you to think about what it is that you'd like to work on. I invite you to get as comfortable as you possibly can. I like to start, with by really just focusing with gratitude. are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open and come back here and now to SEM Mondays Live here on YouTube in this time-space reality. And, I love that I had so much resistance to doing SEM Mondays for a wide variety of reasons. I love connecting with our community. I really, 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 really do. It is one of the things that I enjoy the most, and yet there's so many things like that you folks don't get to see or don't. Like, it's a good thing you don't see that goes into producing this show. And I didn't know everything I was getting myself into, but I knew enough of it that I just had massive resistance. And now SEM Mondays has become like a highlight of my week. And within SEM Mondays, these group energy healing sessions are absolutely the thing that I look most forward to. I love answering questions, don't get me wrong. I absolutely do. And your questions help me to understand like what's missing from the quick start guide, right? Which if you're totally new to source energy medicine, you can't explore source energy medicine without having access to the quick start guide, because it contains the charging label file. It contains an electronic copy of my book, Heal Thyself. It's free, and it's an in-depth course in source energy medicine, and it's everything that's essential to your journey with source energy medicine. There's always a link in the show notes there. There's always my direct email should you have any questions. So your questions help me to see, like, is there something missing from the quick start guide, or could I say something differently or help to clarify that better? So, and from my perspective at this point in time, the quick start guide has evolved to the point where I think it's pretty dang good in that it's complete, it's thorough. The only questions that I seem to get from folks who have gone through the quick start guide are like they either they didn't watch every video that's in there, or they watched it so long ago that they didn't remember. So it's always fascinating because it's hard for me to keep track of what's in what video, and with our online courses, that gets even harder. So I think it's pretty cool, and we're exploring. We have this app that I invested in, and we're using it in some of our online workshops that enables you to put in a search term, and it shows the exact moment in every video where I say those words, right? Whatever it is that you're typing in there. And we're going to figure out a way of taking all of our YouTube content and putting that into something. I don't know what that's going to look like. That'll be searchable, right? Because there's a lot of really good Q&A throughout the archive for SEM Mondays. And at this point, it's overwhelming, like how many replays there are. And finding the answer to a question in a replay, you can't really. YouTube does a pretty good job of being able to do that with keywords and so forth, but it's still a challenge technically. So we'll see. I don't see any questions in the chat. Thank you everyone for your kind words and your blessings. Thank you, Deb. Is very, very thoughtful, very kind of you. Again, God willing, I'll see you back here next Monday for another installment of SEM Mondays. Gosh, I hope that SEM Mondays is something that you too look forward to. It's just such for me a deep, sincere honor and a blessing to be able to have the opportunity, the freedom to come here and to be able to connect with you and to be able to share some unconditional love and support each other on our healing journeys. So, as always, I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. Bye for now.